So, just a few questions about artificial. I honestly, I knew nothing about artificial beforehand. My editor-in-chief, he just said Dante Basco, and I was like, yes. But
You're like, hey, I'm in.
yeah, exactly, pretty
I
much.
appreciate that.
Of course. But from watching it, it's like really interesting. It's about, like the moral complexities of artificial intelligences and it's a really awesome sci-fi show.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, how exactly was the show pitched to you, and what about that attracted you?
Well, I've been friends and a fan of Bernie Sue, the co-creator and director of the show. I met him years ago. I've been following his career from Lizzie Bennett Diaries on YouTube and Emma, which he won Emmys for, and then he won an Emmy for this last year on Twitch. Twitch's first Emmy, I believe. And so he's been such an innovative storyteller, especially in the digital space for years. And I've been around the digital space now for the last decade or so, working with Maker Studios for many years, and now partners in one of the co-founders of Maker, Ron Erickson. After they got acquired by Disney, he ended up creating another company I'm a partner in called The Machine, which we do a lot more production and digital stuff. So
Okay.
we've been in this world. And so I've been wanting to work with Bernie for a while, and we've been friends. He actually spoke at an event I did years ago that I put on. But we haven't found it. You never find out the right time to work together, the right project. And being that we're in this pandemic, we're all locked down in the house, and Bernie's doing this show, and he figured out how to shoot the show while we're all in quarantine. It just was the right moment and kind of perfect storm for this to happen. And
Right. Yeah.
it's pretty fascinating.
No, it is fascinating, and like beyond the show's like interesting AI premise, the live stream and the interactive, how it's live streamed and how it's interactive was really what interested me, and it's like really novel. So I was wondering, how does this, if at all, affect your technique as an actor? Does it feel like improv, or is it just like a regular gig to you?
No, it's totally new and innovative. It's live, right? So it's actually
Right.
has two things going on simultaneously. It's like so new and fascinating because we're being influenced by the audience engagement within real time, and we're learning stuff, and we're doing things on the fly, and we're shooting things in this like new way that we haven't done it in the past. But at the same time, it's going back to our basics as actors. That's those of us that grew up in the theater, like this is it, like this is the one take, we're going live, and we're just back to theater to a degree. So it's, that is that dichotomy going on of like the brand new things happening in the moment is very reflective of how we all started at the beginning of just getting up and doing things in theater.
Right, I bet. So going off of that, this character Xander, I watched the creation of him, and
Oh
it
yeah.
was wild to say the least. So he's a flamboyant, controlling, and superstitious playboy who moonlights as a medium. How do you even begin to get into that character? Like, what do
I
you
don't
do?
know. That's a lot. When you say it like that, it sounds crazy. I mean, they the fans put it together, and I'm
Right,
trying to
yeah.
like figure it out. I mean, I'm one episode in, still trying to figure it out, playing it. I mean, he's a fun character that's not always likable and doesn't really care, but
I've noticed that.
kind of
Yeah.
smarter than everybody else. Including his old friend and even the doctors. Maybe he's super smart because he can also talk to the spirit realm, so he knows things. I know things you guys don't know.
Right,
You guys are
right.
scientists. That's cool.
And with the
I
wink,
know
wink.
when you're gonna die. I know. I've talked to. I mean, I think it's fun for the writers to write. It's fun for me to try to figure out. It's kind of fun for me to act with the other actors and get to throw some of these weird, crazy lines at them and be like,
Right,
he's like,
yeah.
he's kind of like a playboy, sexist spiritualist. Like, well, what? There's like all kinds of stuff going on. It's like,
Right, like, what do you channel to do that?
do I have a cult? Am I a cult leader? What's going on?
Yeah.
Let's reveal that Xander just has a cult. That's what he's doing.
Yeah, like it makes me worry. Like if people just like saw Dante Basco was like, this type of guy. Like this character was perfect for him.
No, they created when we saw the crowd, the world building episode,
Right.
character building episode. It's much like, I within even the episode, I likened it to creating a D&D character, like, but
Mm-hmm.
with thousands of fans giving like, except for I'm not creating it, you guys are creating it. And I
Exactly.
get to like choose things. I like, out of the choices that are coming out, I get to choose things. But it's like D&D. It's very, again, there's a new platform. Yeah, it's like D&D. It's like, what character do you guys want me to play? Like, oh, okay, so he's this kind of guy, and that's doing this kind of stuff, and the character flaws and catchphrases, and wow, okay, pretty wild. And it's
Yeah.
not just for me to play either. It's also for the writers to write,
Exactly. So that goes into my next question pretty perfectly, actually, is that I was able to join last night's episode 4's audience, and I was able to, vote and interact with the audience, and it felt sort of like a dance monkey dance type of situation. So I was wondering, is this how it feels to write and direct the fabulous Filipino brothers? Like, is that the same type of power you feel?
To a degree, not really. I mean, it's different when when you're doing filmmaking in that sense. It's like it's years of development. You know,
Okay.
I wrote this. I wrote the script, co-wrote it with my brother Dante Basco, and then as we did iterations of the script, my little brother Dion came in and did some touch-ups and did some scenes, and my sister Ariana came in and she touched up some scenes, and that's how filmmaking works. It's like it takes years to like make this one project. I
Right.
mean, so it's been fascinating. I mean, this is my first time I get to direct. I produced, I think this is like I don't know. Someone said in the interview, it's like my 8th film I produced. Might be my 7th or 8th. I don't know. But
Yeah.
it's my first time I got to direct. And I do predominantly and exclusively actually Asian American films. And this is the first time I got to direct. And the first time I got to direct, I did this film that I created for my family, for my brothers, for my sister. My parents are in it. It's a very personal film. It was, even though it's been like 2 years since we've been like writing it and developing it and going out to get the financing and all that and shooting and now editing, and it's almost done. But beyond the last 2 years it's taken for me to kind of like live with and make the film, because it's my family, it's such this kind of personal film, personal comedy. It's not nonfiction, it's fiction, but
Right.
it's based on stories from my family.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like you've been developing it your whole life.
Right. Yeah.
You
No,
know what I'm saying?
that makes perfect sense.
So I can't wait for people to see it. It's actually done next week, but with the pandemic going on, the film festivals we already got accepted into are all on kind of hold right now, or might go virtually. So we don't. It's all, like everybody. We're in a pivot. We're in a pivot world right now. Everyone's pivoting.
Yeah,
But
very
I
much.
can't wait for audiences to see it one way or another.
No, I'll be sure to check it out as soon as I can. And speaking of the Asian culture, I hate to bring this up to you because I know you get it all the time, but I have been in love with Avatar: The Last Airbender since it
Hey, no, of
first
course.
came out. And I think a lot of Americans my age who love the shows can relate to this. But like for me, I learned more about Asian culture through Avatar than I did in school. And I still have a lot to learn. I'm
Yeah, of
talking to,
course.
my Asian peers and all of that and trying to just get more because it's a really rich culture. And so
Right.
my question for you is, how does it feel to be sort of a representative of such a rich culture on film? Does it
Yeah.
pressure or?
Yeah, it's fascinating. I think, no actor starts out. I mean, I don't know. Now it's different. Like when we were younger, we never started out as being a representative of our culture. We're just out here. We're actors trying to act, trying to play some cool roles, want to work, I started so young. I was 10 when I got into the industry, and I was a breakdancer in the streets of San Francisco before that. And we didn't, we knew who we were as Filipino Americans. We didn't know for nothing for representing the community. We just want to get down.
Right.
And that happens. It's not till later on in life that you get to understand the characters you brought to screen, what they meant to others. I probably didn't really get the full recognition of what my career meant till I started touring colleges. To the community, I started touring colleges and different groups from all kinds of colleges, major colleges that I didn't go to college. So I was like, what do you want me to come to your school to talk to you guys about,
Right.
And sometimes it'd be talking to the audience at large. Sometimes it's talking to Asian American groups. Sometimes talking to pop culture groups. And basically, I'd go out to schools, UC schools. I've spoken at Brown and UPenn and, Princeton. And I'm like,
Oh
what
wow.
am I doing, right?
Yeah.
And so, Duke, I've spoken at all these schools where you're sitting and having these conversations, but like, can you do a keynote about your career? And then I talked to an Asian American group, right?
Right.
A club. And then people will talk about what my career has meant to them, or someone's written in Asian studies class a paper on my career. I'm like, what?
Oh wow.
It's
That's
these
awesome.
kind of things, and you start to understand what your career means to the next generation, and then that really informed me. It's almost like the internet and engagement, right? It's us having to engage with our audiences, and then it teaches you a lesson, and that really part of that engagement, that conversation, and really kind of get to see yourself and your career through another person's perspective, especially the next generation perspective, led me into a lot of the Asian filmmaking I'm doing today, and trying to create. It's our almost our part of our, at least my calling or duty as a veteran artist, to create these systems for the next generation that our generation didn't have. And so that's really one of the big just urges for me as I create more films and try to create more opportunities for the next generation.
Okay. No, that makes perfect sense, and I'm still trying to learn so much more. Like Geeks of Color, we're doing this Asian Pacific heritage, so just really highlighting and highlighting Asian Pacific heritage. And to me, it's just amazing seeing how much art I love is based off of Asian culture.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah, and it gets too often overlooked.
It's very fascinating within the geek culture, because when you go down to, when I started going to Comic-Con years ago, and you start San Diego, and you look at San Diego Comic-Con, you're like, it says, if you recall all the banners, it's like it's the biggest convention for the modern arts.
Right.
That's what it's saying, right? And you're
Yeah.
like, right, this is the modern arts. But when you understand the geek culture, that nearly everyone in the geek culture is so influenced by the Asian arts. And it's the only subculture, I would think, at least in America, where being Asian is actually higher up on the ladder. There's no other subculture in America that people, Asian or not, are speaking Japanese or Korean, are looking, everyone's kawaii, appreciates anime, eats Asian food, they lean a little more Asian. Whereas I grew up in hip hop culture and a culture where we all leaned a little more African American. That's where we were doing. So it's like, it's interesting to see that this geek culture, this anime, this Comic-Con culture is the only culture. I mean, now I guess video game culture to a large degree, being Asian, video game culture is like, yeah, you're probably superior to, to us or to the rest of us. You got to like look at these things and see, I mean, judgment or not on it, just look at as they are. And I try to speak about that when I speak about Asian culture in America, and looking towards the geek culture, looking towards the esports culture, where you're like, you guys, Asians are dominant in esports. That's just, I mean, that's what part of what the situation is. Where say African Americans are dominant in certain sports cultures in America. I'm like, we are dominant in esports culture.
Sure.
Like, understand what that is. Like, that's something to also be proud of and be cool with, and understand what that is. And it's just a fascinating time to look at where we are and where we're going collectively.
And it's even more fascinating now with with the pandemic making everybody figure out new ways to express themselves safely, at home. So my question is, what other projects, aside from the Fabulous Filipino Brothers, can we look forward to from you? What's your next iconic character? What's your next iconic role?
You never know. I mean, that's the thing, is like, you never know. And I talked about this also with my directors that I produce stuff for them and other artists. It's like our goal is to just be, present every day we go to work and write, and try to create the soil for something magical to happen every day, so we can have some magic moments happen on the set. That's part of the process of filmmaking. How great it's going to be or how iconic it's going to be is for the fans and the critics and the audience to decide 10 years from now. Like, if we're so busy in the moment saying how great it is, I guarantee you it's not going to be great. What we have to be is just in the moment and work and be honest and truthful and try to like create the soil every day for something magical to happen, you know, whether it's be as a producer or a director, and then or as an actor, just being present and hopefully something cool can happen. So you know, that's the process, and then we'll see 10 years from now how iconic it's going to be.
Right. Well, I have no doubt it's going to be iconic with your
Hey,
name attached to it, and like your portfolio is just amazing. This has been like an unbelievable honor. Like, thank you so much for saying
hey,
yes.
thank you.
Thank you. I hope all is well. Best continues to stay well with you and yours, and I hope you have a great day.
All right, thank you, Rihanna.
Thank you. Bye.